welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's having a great day. So we're mid-road trip right now.
At the light, use the left lane to merge onto I-65 south towards State Route 10 Trip West.
Alright, so we're turning left here. So we're mid-road trip right now, so I apologize for how everything kind of just looks right now. This is my first time driving this car, so this is going to be quite the adventure. But today we're doing a highway drive review of this, what is it, 2011? 2011 Mini Cooper S, or not Mini Cooper S, but Mini Cooper, not S. This car actually belongs to my friend Hayden. A lot of you guys know his mom. This is actually his mom's Cooper S, or not Cooper S. She had a Cooper S. I keep wanting to say Cooper S because she had one, but this is her 2011 naturally aspirated Mini Cooper, and it's the automatic transmission, and with a really good 54,000 miles on it. So Hayden's mom's had this car for a couple of years now. She had a Cooper S when I first met Hayden. It was the early supercharged model that had, what was it, like 200 some horsepower? But it was a really small Eaton. It was also automatic, but pretty much what was going on is the transmission was slipping pretty hard. So she wound up just kind of getting rid of it. Hayden's dad traded it in for their ambulance that they have, their open header 7.3 ambulance that you guys probably haven't seen on the channel for over a year. But this was kind of what came out of that. Really nice car. I really like this thing. This car is actually what sold me on wanting to get a Mini Cooper myself one day, possibly as like a future project car, getting a Cooper S or something similar. So these cars, I don't believe, make a lot of power. It's like what, like 150, somewhere in that ballpark. It's very low, but it's still one thing it does very good actually is fuel economy. This is from my house, and it's only burned about a half tank since we left, and we are well past Montgomery, Alabama. We're in Greenville, I believe, when we're filming this, so you know, quite a bit past Montgomery. So you know, very, 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 very good fuel economy out of this car. I know right now if we were in our trucks, we'd be getting ready to start looking for gas stations, but this car has exceeded expectations, especially with Hayden, because Hayden has gone quite fast to get us here in a very reasonable amount of time. So even with that, I mean, the car has gotten exceptional mileage, and it's relatively comfortable, I would say. I mean, it's probably one of the comfier cars I've been in on a road trip. So my question for today's video is it worth getting the S? Because obviously some people are going to say absolutely. I mean, that's kind of a dumb question, because the S has the turbocharger or the supercharger if you get an older model. It's got the better, I think it's got a better automatic. I can't remember when exactly they moved to the 8-speeds that they use now, that I always think are dual clutches, but are actually more similar to the ZFs that you find in like Chargers and the Supra. And I honestly, it's a hard question, because the S is great, but I wonder if it would be any different to take something like this, a base model Cooper, throw a big turbo on it, and it'd be just as fast as the Cooper S. Now, obviously, Hayden's in here with me, so he can actually, you know, what do you think? Do you think big turbo on a standard Cooper would be just kind of the same experience as a Cooper S?
About 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes? Pretty much, these cars are notorious for not being terribly reliable. And we were joking about it before we started recording that this car's already halfway through its lifespan at 54,000 miles, because Hayden's mom's last one, her like early 2000s Cooper S, only had like 100,000 miles when it gave, if that. So these things aren't necessarily the most reliable cars ever made, but they are fun, and that's really why people love Minis so much. It's more the experience than it is you know, the reliability. People buy these things because they're peppy, they're fun. This car in particular is actually really peppy, even for having not even 200 horsepower. This car just has got a lot of pep in its step. It's taken me a minute to get used to it, because the throttles is a lot more vague than, say, like the Equinox is, I would say. But it's definitely not the worst, you know, throttle I've ever driven. I've driven a lot of cars with electronic throttles. I've driven a Taurus, I've driven a 3.7 Mustang, I've driven the Equinox. Didn't the Genesis have an electronic throttle body? So I've driven that. The Genesis was actually really responsive. That was one thing I really liked about that car. But This car's a little vague, so it's taken me a minute to get used to the throttle on this car, but it still goes really well. One of my favorite things is these cars look small from the outside. Minis, I mean, they're not called Mini for nothing, but in the inside, they're a lot roomier than you would think. And I've sat in the back seats of this car, and for reference, I'm 5'10", and I honestly fit in the back of this better than I do like a Mustang or a Camaro or something like that. I've sat in the back of both. So the Mini is practical. It looks pretty good, I think. I'm a fan of how the Cooper looks. A lot of people think these things are ugly, but I've always liked how the Coopers have looked. I'd say a lot more than the Beetle, and I'm a Volkswagen guy. Like, you know, I love Beetles, but it's like this, I think, looks better than the Beetle. The interior's a better setup and stuff like that. And that's going to be a car I'm going to compare this to a lot during the video, is the Beetle, because it's similar price bracket, similar purpose of existence, kind of just a good little niche car. Instead, you know, not your everyday Sonata or Camry or anything like that. But this car is definitely still, like, actually feels really good. Like I said, this is my first time driving this car, so I had no idea how it was going to feel to drive going in. The steering is very nice and tight, a lot tighter than any of the other electric steering cars I've driven before. And Hayden just put me in sport mode here. Oh my gosh, they got even tighter. Holy crap. So, out of all the electric steering cars I've driven, this has probably the best steering. The 3.7 that I drove, my dad's Mustang, felt very vague, and it's very light to turn. This actually takes about as much force, if not more force, than I turn my truck, my Explorer. So, and that's hydraulic steering. So, all in all, I mean, the steering is heavy and it feels precise. It doesn't feel like it's vague or it's trying to be as loose as possible to be comfortable. It's, you know, it gives you the best driving feel out of the electric steering cars I've touched. Like I said, this is the older automatic trans, so it's not that 8-speed that just flies through gears. But it still feels good. I mean, we're going about 75 miles an hour. We're at 3,000 RPM, which is, a lot of people are going to say it's pretty high, but I think what it's been doing, I've been kind of watching, it's not shifting in a sixth. So, it's been a fifth, a lot of it, I guess, to kind of help keep torque going, because I think it's like, might be just like, do I need to go with sixth, or do I need to be in fifth to get some more power down, or, you know. But, like I said, this is really good feeling, actually. Like, this actually makes me really want to get a Cooper S even more, because even though I just said, is it worth buying the S, I would still probably buy the S before I'd get like a standard one and put a turbo on it. They cost about the same, really. Cooper S's have depreciated very, very heavily over the last 10 years, so they're not terribly hard to get into now. Of course, obviously, reliability is a big concern in these cars. I know the supercharged ones in particular were awful, so it will take some, you know, having to have a little bit of experience in working on cars and being comfortable with getting your hands dirty every once in a while. But I think, honestly, even in the base model, this non-turbocharged, completely naturally aspirated version of the Mini, it feels still pretty good. Now, obviously, since we're on the interstate, we don't really have much room to go hammering it on back roads or anything, and plus I don't think Hayden's mom really appreciate us taking her car for an extreme joyride or anything, because Hayden's mom actually does kind of watch the channel sometimes, so obviously I don't think she would appreciate me taking her car on a back road and absolutely thrashing it and running it through as hard as I can. But the car still feels absolutely fantastic, and I can tell, even with just driving the interstate, just by steering feel alone and how light it feels up front, that this would be a fantastic car just to cruise with on like a back road. Not even hammer it. I really don't think you'd have to enjoy the fun of this car. Now, obviously, I will say that having a manual in this car will make it a lot more fun, because the auto was fine, but the manual is obviously going to bring a lot more enjoyment. I think me and Hayden can both be in agreement on that one, that a manual would make this thing even more fun. But I can tell just by feeling it out right here that it's really fun and all that. But is it worth getting the S? I think at the end of the day, I think so. I don't know how strong these motors are, so I don't know if the standard engine in these are going to be able to handle like any sort of boost like the S is, or if maybe it's just not boosted. Like, I don't know. I don't know if how good the engine is. I don't know if it's like how the, you know, I'm trying to think of an engine that sucks and can't handle boost very well, but has another verb and I can. I guess we'll go with the 2-valve Mustang. I think that's a really good kind of comparison. I don't know if it's strong and can handle a little bit of boost into the 2-valve can, or if it's like, the S is like, 10 times better in terms of engine construction. But at the end of the day, I think buying an S is still a good option, because, obviously I believe this car probably has an open diff, and probably the S, I know the S is for a fact of LSDs, so obviously it'll be a harder sell for anyone to want to get a standard one and put a turbo on it when there's open diff. That's terrifying. If the videos haven't shown alone about having a turbo car with an open diff that's front wheel drive, I do not want to be involved in that. But the car does not feel like it's going to throw you around. It's not like, say, Michael's Mazda, for example. Michael's Mazda will try to throw you around as much as possible. Granted, Michael's Mazda makes almost 100 more horsepower than this Plus. So, obviously, that's going to, throw away a ton of, it'll throw you across the road. But this, I don't feel like would do that. I don't know if it's because it's a little bit modern, has electric steering, or if it's just the fact it doesn't make almost 300 horsepower front wheel drive. But, this car's pretty well optioned out. It's got leather seats, it's got the leather steering wheel, it's got Harman Kardon audio, which we haven't been able to use because, how iPhones are nowadays. You can't just hook them up to aux. Because I don't believe this car has Bluetooth audio. I think it might be just a couple years behind, like right before it was introduced.
You can do Bluetooth calling, you can't do radio.
Okay, so you can do Bluetooth calling, but not radio.
It's on the Genesis.
Really? I thought the Genesis had full Bluetooth audio. Huh.
That's why I had an aux port there.
Gotcha, okay. But I really like the configuration here. I was always concerned when I was younger about the speedometer being right here. But I didn't know that Mini actually has the speedometer digital right on the steering wheel, which is perfectly fine. It works pretty good. I would say I get over a little bit and try to give it a little bit of gas because we're stuck behind this RV, but the car in the left lane is absolutely hauling by us. And we're quickly losing the time we made up from Hayden's driving. But this car's really well optioned out. Like I said, when I was younger, I was really concerned about having the speedometer right here. And obviously, it is still a little bit concerning because if you want to check the fuel level, you still have to look over here. But it's not completely impossible. And you can totally do it manageably without any sort of issue.
Change the stuff right here to say it too.
Yeah, so, it's very configurable. I wonder if that was like an issue, because I know the supercharged models, the early ones, they didn't have that. So I wonder if maybe that was something that it was like, hey, we better fix that. They can't, it's harder to see out of. And that was a complaint I had about the older Ford GT, the 05s. I always thought that was like the dumbest thing ever, the speedometer right there. But, odd comparison, a Mini Cooper to a Ford GT. But at the end of the day, this car is just super. I love these cars, I really do. I used to make fun of Minis, actually. When I was younger, I hated these cars. I thought they were just the crappiest thing ever. And I always made fun of the people whenever I saw dudes driving these things. But I get why people buy them now. I get it. I got it years ago when I first started really looking into them and seeing how cool they actually were. But now sitting in just a standard one and driving it makes me want to get one even more. And I've always said that if we were kind of transitioned to a hash gang of sorts with Hayden and Michael, since Michael has the Mazda, Hayden's been thinking about getting a Golf GTI, then I would probably get a Cooper S just to kind of fit in the group as best as I could. Obviously, cars like the Fiesta and Focus ST would be there as well, but I really would like a Cooper S. I love the niche stuff. I thought that was an F-body for a second, but it's just a Chrysler Sebring. So, yeah. But I think that's all I've got to talk about the Mini. All in all, really cool car. Even for a base model, it's one of those rare cars where the base model is still really good. Obviously, the performance model will be better, but the base model is still pretty good in its own right. But, hope we all enjoyed. Go follow Hayden's Instagram, Prentice Motorsport Truth, for S2000 content, Ranger content, all that good stuff. I would put his mom's Instagram out there, but I don't think his mom would really appreciate having her Instagram completely out in the open. Because, she's not really even a car girl, per se. So, but anyway, we're going to wrap things up here. We're going to get on the rest of the drive down to Florida, where you guys will start seeing the vlogs, because I didn't film one on the way down here. But anyway, guys, hope you all enjoyed. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys next time.